because there it is, splits past. We have, of course, quick station identification. You are listening to the Matuszak Show, and I'm your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak. Our phone number here is 520-226-8567. So if you want to call up and talk about the topics of the day, or you put in your 2 cents on any other issue, just keep it rated PG. That's not PG-13, folks. That's PG. Go ahead and call in. And I am Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and this is the show for September 9th, 2014. And there you go if you're listening to the podcast. So, now that we've crossed over into the third segment of the show, folks, and I've already played the quote from Eleanor Norton, you know that we're going to talk about what our federal government's doing. Well, folks, Ted Cruz announced on Friday, and I've already talked about this. He announced on Friday that he was going to be submitting his Expatriate Terrorist Act bill. And he did file it yesterday, and he talked about it. And I've updated the article over at BuzzPo that talks about the bill and kind of puts my little spin on the pluses and or minuses of the bill. Well, I've embedded on there, folks, a 20-minute or so long video of Ted Cruz talking about the bill on the Senate floor. In addition to that, folks, I don't have the video or the audio from it, but Ted Cruz made the rounds of the various news shows last night, including Greta, and he's been talking about this bill. Folks, it's a smart idea, and it's not something groundbreakingly new. The laws are already on the books that if you leave the U.S. and defect to, well, it used to be USSR, but they don't exist anymore, but you defect to any country that is a direct and declared threat to the United States, enemy of the United States, and you defect there, and you say, I'm joining them against the United States, well, at that point, the United States revokes your citizenship. It's already on the books. So what Cruz has proposed is, well, you have these threat organizations that are like countries without any borders, so to speak, and they want to harm us just as much as North Korea, for example. So if somebody defects to ISIS, that's the same thing as defecting to North Korea. So the same should happen. They should have their U.S. citizenship revoked. Which is something that, looking at Britain, they probably should have done already with several people, to include the formerly British rapper who has beheaded a U.S. citizen. So that's kind of one of the things going on, and that happened yesterday, folks. So call your senator and your congressman and tell them to support the Expatriate Terrorist Act, and help let the door hit them where the Lord split them. So, and why would this even be an issue, folks? Well, as those of you who were able to hear my very short little, I don't even want to call it an interview, but when Paul Sutliff was able to come on and talk a little bit about what's going on in what he discovered in Connecticut with the Hartford Seminary, not cemetery, folks, seminary. Something scary there. They're the head of their Muslim courses there, because it's a theology college. So their Muslim chaplain is a member of a organization that supports the Muslim Brotherhood and ISIS and these other terrorist groups. And he's right here in the United States, and he's in charge of teaching Americans in a university. So that kind of raises some eyebrows and makes people wonder, makes people look to see, where else is this going? Is this going on in any high schools, charter schools, colleges, universities around America? And more than likely, it's happening in some more left-leaning private colleges, I'm sure, as well as your community colleges at the 2-year degree, associate degree, undergrad levels, building in that indoctrination, that moral relevance, that the extremism, the beheading of somebody just because you don't agree with their religion is somehow okay because they're an infidel in your view, or an apostate in your view, or a heretic. Now, mind you, these are the heretics saying to do this. Not all Muslims think that way. In fact, by and large, the majority of them don't. You just wouldn't know it because they're not as outspoken. It's kind of against the religion to be that outspoken about the issue. As outspoken as the extremists are with their heresy. No, I'm not a Muslim lover, folks. Just like I'm not a Christian lover. I'm me. I love my own religion and I respect all the others. It's just that simple. As long as they are true to their actual declared beliefs, which I don't think Muslim extremists are. The extremists. I do have friends who practice Islam, or various sects of it, and they really don't agree with the extremists. In fact, many of them have fought side by side with me against the extremists. But something to be wary of, folks. For those of you with children they're kind of in that secondary school or that higher education level, is take a look and see who's within the administrations, especially those of you with charter schools. Take a look. Do some background checking on who's teaching your kids. Because if they're affiliated, like this gentleman was that Paul Sutliff brought to my attention, you can go ahead and read my article for more information over there at BuzzPo. That's a Trojan Horse scenario happening in U.S. universities. But if it's if it's happening, if it's starting to become more and more widespread, like it was in Birmingham, the United Kingdom, we have something to worry about, folks. And why should this be something to worry about? Why? Why is it such a bad thing? Isn't diversity a good thing? Well, folks, what's the root of diversity? It's to be divided, split. It's not diversity. It is not the homogeneous melting pot that makes our country great, where we blend in all the good parts of different cultures and customs and backgrounds and evaporate off the bad portions. We don't have that homogenizing when you have diversity, because diversity means you be respectful of that little collective over there. Don't join them. You're not part of them. They're separate from you. Just respect them and give them their area. Doesn't matter that their area is something that we carved out of something that's yours and gave to them. You have to be respectful of that collective. Oh, by the way, leave them alone. Same with that collective over there and that collective over there. Y'all don't interact at all. Stay segregated, but understand each other and respect each other and coexist. Well, wouldn't it be better to coexist if we all lived together? We all shared our good ideas. We all shared our not so good ideas and then came together and said, when you look at it from the big picture, that's kind of dumb. Let's get rid of it. That's kind of what the melting pot is, isn't it? And that's what made our country great to begin with. So why do we want to divide into fabricated collectives? I say no. Screw diversity. But that's just me, folks. Just my take on it. Diversity. Divide. Divisive. Segregation. That's what it is, folks. It's modern segregation. Diversity is modern segregation. So those of you who didn't like the Jim Crow laws should really despise every time some academic talks about cultural diversity. Kiss my left knee and lick my right patella. Anyway, and if you guys are confused on what a patella is, go break out a copy of Grey's Anatomy. No, it's not something vulgar. Get your head out of the gutter. Told you this is rated PG for Paul-Gregory. Anyway, not only do we have this possibility of the whole Trojan Horse scenario happening here in the States now, in our schools. Good old James O'Keefe. You remember him? Did the whole infiltrating of Acorn and other stuff with the bizarre undercover videos where he dressed up in something outlandish and the people didn't even catch on that he was there to expose them because they were just that dense. If you remember a couple of weeks ago, James O'Keefe went to Mexico and crossed the Rio Grande unstopped, unchecked, while dressed up as Osama bin Laden. And then he walked all the way from the Rio Grande up to I-10, where he easily could have hitchhiked and made it to somewhere like, I don't know, Detroit. No big loss. But, so he showed how easy it is at certain areas to actually just walk right across the border without being checked, and how easy it would be for not your people looking for a better job or whatever, but your terrorists, people who have it in their brains that they're coming to our country with the intent of destroying it and doing violence and hurting people. How easy it would be. Well, as easy as it is on the heavily, or more heavily, I wouldn't even say it's heavily guarded, but the border that has a higher effort of security with our border with Mexico, and how easy it was there. Now imagine how easy it is to come across from Canada. And you think, well, Sault Ste. Marie and other places I've seen the border crossings there, it ain't that easy. Yes, it is. All you need is a jet ski or a boat. You go right across Lake Erie. Nobody's going to stop you. It's on the honor system. If you're coming from Canada into the United States and you're not a U.S. citizen, it's on the honor system for you to go to the nearest Customs and Border Patrol station and check in. You don't have to. It's up to you. It would be nice. That's what the rules kind of show. And, well, James O'Keefe went and showed exactly how scary that should be. So let's take 5 minutes or so of the remaining 7 of the show and listen in on Project Veritas.
Hi, I'm James O'Keefe at Project Veritas. I'm out on the boat in Lake Erie, leaving Cleveland, heading towards Canada, and we're going to examine today if our borders are secure and if we are safe as Americans. Security experts say the rise of ISIS in Syria and Iraq has significantly increased the risk of an attack here in the United States. What if ISIS wanted to send a terrorist here? How hard would that be? If an ISIS terrorist could get to Canada, could he hire a boat? Could he bring poison or even the Ebola virus? Could he get across Lake Erie and into the United States? Could he do it without getting caught?
We're just leaving Canada now. Careful, it's contagious.
Last month, we crossed the Rio Grande from Mexico into the United States. Our report changed the national debate. It also seems to have garnered the attention of ISIS. This document obtained by the Breitbart News Network is from the Texas Department of Public Safety. It warns that ISIS is actively encouraging supporters to take advantage of the porous U.S. borders. It specifically cited our Texas report as evidence. With all the attention focused on the Mexican border, we wondered about the level of security on the Canadian border. All right, so this is Captain Bob Swinney. Captain, where exactly are we?
We're in Lake Erie, I don't know, 10, 15 miles maybe off of the U.S. coast.
Captain, how often do you see Border Patrol? How often are they out here? Do you see them frequently?
No, I've never seen Border Patrol out here. I have seen Coast Guard a time or two.
Sitting on the southern shore of Lake Erie, the Cleveland metropolitan area is the home of about 2 million Americans. It's just about 45 miles from Canada. What are the immigration laws like in terms of checking in with authorities if you pick up somebody?
Basically, what's supposed to happen is if you're going to leave U.S. waters, you're supposed to call the Customs Border Patrol.
So it's basically like an honor system.
Basically,
You're supposed to do it yourself.
Correct.
So they expect like a terrorist to potentially check in with the immigration people, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the idea.
We checked the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol website, and it confirmed the absurdity. Operators of small pleasure vessels arriving in the United States are required to report their arrival to Customs and Border Patrol immediately. The Canadian border has become relevant because the British government says American journalist James Foley's ISIS assassin was an Englishman. British intelligence believes more than 500 British citizens have joined ISIS. Brits can enter Canada without a visa. It's virtually an open door. Hiring a small boat to travel from Canada to the middle of Lake Erie could not be easier, and no one seemed to notice the terrorist on board.
Yeah, right there. Get as close as you can.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
My name's Abdul. I was just crossing the border into America.
What are you going to do in America?
Well, as you know, on August 17th, we stole Ebola from a lab in Liberia. We took the bandages and bed sheets, and then we covered themselves in hope that we get infected. The incubation period is about 21 days, and, well, it's been about 21 days.
How did you get here? Did you cross in a boat or something?
Well, I used my British passport to get to Canada, and then, yes, I took a boat.
No Border Patrol stopped you?
Do you see any Border Patrol? Do you see any Coast Guard?
What's in that other bag?
This is ricin. As you can see, Cleveland's water supply is over there. If we pour it in there, it'll kill a lot of Americans.
So obviously that guy is not really an ISIS terrorist. We did not import ISIS terrorists into the United States from Canada, but anybody can get across this border. You can come across in a jet ski if you wanted to. And no, this is not actually ricin. This is not actually Ebola. But you could import weapons, you could import whatever you wanted to, because there's no detection on our borders. And that's the question we're asking again. Do you feel safe? On the eve of the 9/11 anniversary, our man dressed as an ISIS terrorist was able to cross Lake Erie, walk off a boat into Cleveland, Ohio, and into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. At no point did anyone even question him or ask him what he was carrying in his suspicious brown duffel bag.
So, do you feel safe? Look, folks, I wrote on this video yesterday when I saw it, and posted over at BuzzPost, where you can see the video for yourself, as well as get some commentary on it, and leave your own comments over there. But one thing I want to mention, folks, you have to be vigilant. You have to keep your eyes open. You can't get complacent. There are threats out there. At the same time, you have to be very careful not to cry wolf and cause panics and panics and panics that turn out to be nothing, because then everybody's going to get complacent, and then we're all screwed. So keep your eyes open. Keep vigilant, but don't let it rule your life. Don't be paranoid. Go and enjoy your liberties. That's what the country's all about. Got to protect it, but at the same time, don't give up everything that you and your grandfather and your grandfather's grandfather, all the way back to the founding of our country, that we've all strived and fought for and achieved. It's already being whittled away from within, folks. So, without further ado, I have been your host, Paul-Gregory Matuszak, and this has been the Mouth of Matuszak show for Tuesday, September 9th, 2014. You all have a great